Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to the opening of the EuroSciPy 2025. And welcome to Krakow. We are very happy you are here. We are now going to go through a few technicalities and important information for you to note. First, of course, about the conference that we are on. Probably you know why you are here, but to remind you, EuroSciPy is a conference dedicated to Python and the usage of Python in many different aspects. The first conference took place in 2008, and as you can see, the conference was in many different and interesting locations. This is our second year in Poland, and the conference is organized mostly by volunteers, almost all, and governed by non-profit Python software Verband. So, it is our first year in Krakow. I hope you like the city and you like the venue. You will probably have a chance to say something about the question during the questionnaire at the end. Wi-Fi here. You can connect using this QR or by just selecting the network. There is a CAFTI portal login when you can disconnect when, for example, your computer will go to sleep or you will reset it. So be mindful of that. I will give you a second to take a photo if you like of this. Next, the Telegram group. So we would like to stay connected with you. This is a very good way to reach us, but also to share your experience. This is a multi-channel group. So if you want to post your photos, please post them in a dedicated channel. The channel is named Share Your Photos. So quite descriptive. And we will use these photos in social media. So by posting here, you're giving the permission to use your photos in our social media. Also, please enable notification in the announcement channel, because there will be all the updates. But do not post your photos in the announcement channel. Just don't mix them up. I will also give you a second to take a photo if you want. Okay, so first and foremost, we would like to thank our sponsors. So thank you so much, Anaconda, for supporting EuroSciPy at the platinum level. And you can visit their booth in the hall here after the keynotes. Also, we would like to thank MDPI for supporting EuroSciPy, and all the sponsor booths are outside this room. So we'll go through the venue in a moment. And also we would like to thank Julish for supporting EuroSciPy. We also have a community partner, which is Applied AI. And our institutional sponsors that provided us with the venue. So the AGH University of Krakow, the infrastructure and administrative support from Python Academy and Python Software Verband. Also, if you came here thanks to financial aid, here are the sponsors. You are to be thankful for this. So we would like thank the sponsor so much for making the EuroSciPy more inclusive, and of course helping people to reach this conference that wouldn't be able to reach it any other way. We have a code of conduct that we are enforcing rigorously. So our new code of conduct can be found on our website. It is updated compared to the last year. And please take your time to read it, familiarize with it. It is very important for us that everyone feels welcome and safe during our conference. And we just like to don't have any unwelcome behavior during our conference. Everything will be unaddressed. Here you have the code of conduct information if something happens. So you can always come to us as organizers or ask volunteers for help. You can reach also the code of conduct or committee by email. But if you're in any physical danger or something is really happening, just call 112, which is the emergency number. So don't bother to try to reach us when you're dying or something horrible is happening. We are not like magicians, we can do a lot. But if you feel like you need some help or emotional support, this is what we can do. Also, if there's some conflict of interest, so maybe you feel like people that are enforcing code of conduct are not enforcing it to themselves or some other strange situation, you can reach out to Python Software Verband. And here you have an email. You can also take a photo of this. So, the overview of conference. If you've been here since Monday, you probably are already familiar with it. The first 2 days were mostly all of them tutorials, and today is Wednesday, so we are starting with keynotes. We have then 2 tracks. We have maintainer and open space. Then we have lightning talk, and depending if it's today or tomorrow, the schedule differs a little bit. Today we have a poster spotlight session and posters session. Tomorrow we'll have the sprint orientation and closing. You can find the schedule on our website. We haven't printed it because it can change a little bit. So far so good, there wasn't a lot of big changes. If you have any questions about it, you can also reach out to us via Telegram or in person. Yeah. You are here. We are now in the morning. Yeah. So about the venue, we have 3 floors. Here is the keynote room. Here also outside the door we have our sponsor booths. And the room near the coffee and food is where the other part of the schedule is happening. So you can also go upstairs because If you go upstairs, there's a maintenance track. Yeah, here, upstairs. Exactly. And yeah, coffee, probably you know where it is already. Did I miss something? I think not for now.
Oh, numbers and names don't match.
Yeah, numbers, yeah, that's a little bit oversight. The room 119 is room 118. Room 119 is used for lunch. So here you have the two doors, the one on the left. The left part on the left should be room 118 where the schedule is happening, the events are happening, and the next then 119 is where the lunch is happening, which is also a very important place to know. When it comes to lunch, yeah?
Just tap the arrow.
Yeah, here's lunch. Where it comes to lunch, the labels may be strange, but I think if you have a little bit of imagination, you can see what they are trying to tell you. If you don't have an imagination, you can always ask us, and I will go through them. Starting from the right, it's orzechy nut, so if you have a nut allergy, please do not touch it. Then we have, so vegetarian and vegan. That's basically the difference. So the more plant-based you are, the more leaves you want to have on the sign. Then if you see this kind of leafy thing and you are allergic to gluten, do not touch this. So too many leaf is not good. Then if you have crossed all these leafy things, it means you are good. Okay?
But if you do have nuts allergy, we don't have nuts-free environment.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So we tried to make the lunch as inclusive to everyone, so you wouldn't have any allergic reactions. But also, if you have an allergic reaction, don't go searching for us, call 112 or something, okay? This is one of the situation, yeah. So if you have any questions, if you have some allergies and you really would like to find some help, you can always ask people that are preparing the lunches, the staff, they should be able to help you. But if you can find them or you are too shy to ask, you can ask us or ask on Telegram. So everyone understands these labels? Yes? Perfect. Okay. So the building is accessible, doors are automatic, this is a university, so of course the accessibility is important for this building besides the EuroSciPy, but we're also trying to find always the venue that is accessible to everyone. We have toilets on all floors, so we don't have to wait in line. If it's very cramped, you can just go to different part of the building or go upstairs. Also, we have a quiet room on the second floor. So if you feel overwhelmed or you need a second to yourself, you can go there. But the quiet room will stay a quiet room only if you are quiet. Okay? So it's not like a magical place where there's like a quiet spell and no one can say anything. If you are going to be noisy, it will be a noisy room. Okay? So let's keep it quiet room for people that needs it. Here is also something that you may be confused about. I am confused about because the segregation of trust is different in Poland in every city. So I need to always ask locals how to do it. Basically, the labels are in Poland, but also starting from the right. The blue one is paper, the second one, red, is for cans. The yellow is plastic, the green is glass, and the black one is everything else. What constitutes metal, what constitutes plastic, what constitutes glass is another different thing. In my city, we have whole website when you have to write down what kind of packaging you have, and they will tell you where to put it. I don't know how is it exactly in Krakow. You can ask one of the local organizers, but we are not going to prosecute you if you just put it wrongly. So
try your best.
Yeah, try your best. You can ask me if you are unsure. I will, take the scene out of your shoulders and just throw it out myself.
Don't call 112 on this.
Yeah, don't call. It's not an emergency. This is kind of emergency that we can help you. Here we have our keynote speakers. So today, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Anna Lurs, yeah, perfect, will be speaking. And tomorrow we have Don Weirs. Yes, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so I'm really sorry. And yeah, we will hope to see you during the. Oh my God!
It's not here, it's there.
We really hope to see you during our during the keynotes. So we need help. We need help. We need help. We need help for our session chairs. So if you would like to attend as a volunteer, please scan this QR code. What is the help is just the managing the talks. If you have any questions about it, you can ask us later, or Konstantin, maybe he is very well aware of what to do. Yeah, you have a second to take a photo. Yes? Okay. So, social event. When? Today at 8 p.m. sharp. Where? It's a club studio. It's near the venue. You need a separate ticket for it. So when you purchase your ticket for conference, it does not include the social event. Social event is separate. And a very important piece of information is that the ticket sales close after the first coffee break today. Okay? So you have a little bit of time still to buy the ticket. If not, then sadly will not be able to host you there. Okay, also, if you have a ticket, make sure to get the jetons, which are this funny stuff. And also important thing, they're not for food. They're only for drinks. You have a food, normally you have pizza. This is only for drinks, so you have like 2 drinks from us. If you want to drink more, sadly you're on your own. But maybe 2 will be enough to get the party going, at least started. Okay. So, if you want to take a picture of this, you can do it now. I think we also have information about social event on our site in one of the blog posts, if I remember correctly. So we can also find the information here. And as always, if you get lost in this 5-minute walk, that's kind of emergency, you can contact us by Telegram. We can help you. We can send you the Google Maps pin or something. Okay. So now, traditionally, we also have lightning talks. And lightning talks are very short talks on the whatever topic you feel like talking about at the time. So if you are interested, here's the link to sign up. And the lightning talks are happening. Oh, sorry.
It's not you.
Yeah. Thank you for assuring me it's not mine. Lightning talks are happening both today and tomorrow. My God. Today and tomorrow in the evening, and you can submit your attendance here.
I think that goes to the social event.
That goes to the social event? Konstantin? What's happening here?
We'll send a link around the telephone chat.
Yeah, we'll send it. Thank you for noticing. Sorry for that. But maybe this one goes to the lightning. Maybe you should check. You see, you should be taking pictures, like I said.
Also social.
Oh, social stuff. Okay. We really want to be on the social event. It seems.
We really want you to be there.
Yeah. Okay. If you submit today, you might be asked to present today or tomorrow. Okay, depending on how many submissions there are and what's going to be the time of the lightning talks. Also, let me reiterate, it can be outside the Python or science. It doesn't have to be only on Python. So if you have anything interesting, like any hobby or something you want to talk about, it's like a community thing. This is the place to do it. Okay, and then sprints. We have sprints on Friday, and sprints are basically collaborative coding sessions. And during sprints you can contribute to an open source project, and also maybe, just maybe, you can have your pull request merged at the same day, maybe the same minute even, depending. You can still register for sprints. So we need you to send a pull request. If you want to register...
to lead the sprint. To lead the sprint.
During a sprint?
To lead a sprint.
Yeah, to lead a sprint.
Not to participate.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to participate, you will just have to attend, just come. If you have some open source projects or something you are developing and you want to register it as a sprint, this is where you need to send us a pull request, and we'll accept it, and then you can add your node. So we have already confirmed projects that are very fun, like I don't know what's happening here. Oh. No? Yeah, okay, it's the antenna.
Maybe other microphone?
Yeah, maybe I will try the other one. Yeah, okay, perfect. So we have confirmed projects: NumPy, SciPy, scikit-learn, Stroop, Napari, PyFixes. You can read them. Very interesting. You can come even if you don't feel like you are equipped enough in the Python knowledge. It's very nice experience. You can always get a lot of knowledge from more experienced people. Do you need to take a photo of this, or are you okay? You have here a link and the email. Yeah, okay. So, that concludes the opening. Sorry for being a bit slower. So, now we have our first keynote speaker.
So I hope you all had a good start. I hope you're awake. Do you look awake? Kind of. It's okay. Okay. So we are bringing you here today Anna. She's our first keynote speaker. Anna is a research coordinator at the Jülich Research Center. and she used to work at the HPC for Neuroscience Division at the UD Supercomputing Center. So I think her background is in technical mathematics, what those are right, so a very technical person. But nowadays she's focusing on science communication. I think you also work for the Human Brain Project, if I got that right, which was a very large EU-funded, very large, big money project. I'm very happy to have her here today, but her focus today is a bit of a different one. She's going to present her efforts in funding a local Women in HPC initiative, a network to increase diversity and specifically female visibility in the community. So please welcome Anna with me, and the stage is yours.
Thanks for the nice welcome and thanks for the introduction. I'm really excited that I today, but in general we as a network, get the opportunity to present ourselves, because what we are not is like a feminist fight club. This is not about we need a quota woman everywhere and we need a quota in institutions so that we get more women everywhere. We want more women, but that's not the way how we try to solve it. So I work at the Research Center in Jülich, which is one of the largest research centers in Europe. We have 15 institutes with multiple sub-institutes and more than 7,000 employees in a city of 35,000 inhabitants. So it's probably one of the most international small cities in Germany. We have interdisciplinary research in energy information and bioeconomy. And I'm employed at the Jülich Supercomputing Center, which is one of these 15 institutes. We are very soon, in 2 weeks, going to inaugurate Europe's first exascale supercomputer, Jupiter, in Jülich. So we're one of the 3 largest supercomputing centers in Germany, which hosts supercomputers not only for German researchers, but for European researchers. So if you want to do something on a supercomputer and you don't have one at your university, or you need a bigger one like Jupiter, there will very soon be ways to get access to that system for free for scientists. At our Jülich Supercomputing Center, we do have about 25% women in the workforce, and if you take the communication coordination, non-technical, non-STEM jobs aside, we are about 19% women. About because there are people like me who were hired as scientists and now do something which is a bit less sciencey, but it's, let's say, roughly 20% women in STEM jobs, which is quite a bit. So I know a neuromorphic computing institute in Heidelberg, which has exactly 0 women apart from like the secretary and the communications person. Women in HPC is an international organization which tries to increase the visibility of women, to make the high-performance computing, the supercomputing workforce more diverse and inclusive. It is a women's network, as the name says, but it's in general about diversity and inclusion. The goal is really to make everyone feel welcome and have a good feeling at conferences, to feel included. And if you're like the odd one out, obviously like the only woman in the room, the only black person in the room, to still feel like a part of the group and not left out. And it's also about equal opportunities to succeed in the career path you have chosen. Women in HPC was founded at EPCC, so in Scotland, 2013 as a lunch group. So it was basically a group of women meeting for lunch to exchange their experiences. And then from that, they started to have regular workshops at the 2 biggest supercomputing conferences in the US, that's the SC, and in Europe, that's the ISC, and currently always Hamburg in Germany. At some point, they started a chapters and affiliate program. We'll get to that a bit later. And they also have a mentoring program at these conferences, so that if you're a very young scientist, technical person, it's your first time at these conferences, and the supercomputing conference in the US is huge, and it can be very intimidating in this huge environment if you've never been there before and you're not traveling with colleagues. You can team up with a mentor from the network, which can be a woman or a man, that doesn't really matter. And they will like take you by the hand and tell you, this is the place you want to be today evening. And those events are really cool to connect with people, and those keynote talks are really good, or you might not want to go there because that could be a waste of time. So it's really this, having someone with you who's a bit more experienced at these conferences so that you get the most out of it for yourself. And they also have a travel fellowship program. for women to attend the conferences. One of the conferences, the European one, is now also an official collaborator. 3 years ago, I met with a few colleagues, and always like bio or tree-led collaborative meetings over lunch, we realized that the topics we were talking about were always the same. It was, how do you, career planning? What's the right moment to have a child? How do you organize your parental leave? Because that's very flexible in Germany, how you split it between parents. How do you deal with certain situations? And we realized it would be so cool to have, we happened to know each other. So we had people to talk to. We were wondering, what is if you're new? If you don't have these close colleagues that you know really well, whom you can talk to, let's found a chapter of women in HPC. And that's what we did. So it was a group of mostly, but not exclusively, female colleagues. We went to, because when you apply for becoming a chapter of women in HPC, you need institutional support. So we went to our male director and we were like, Omas, we would like to become a women in HPC chapter. He was thrilled and said, of course you have to do that. But please talk to our board of directors of the Intel Research Center, which we did as well. And our board of directors was very supportive as well. And so we submitted our application and we have the full institutional support for this. As of yesterday, there are 29 chapters. So I saw an email yet today morning that another chapter has been founded in Bangalore. There are 29 chapters and 7 affiliates around the globe. Chapters serve a specific area or organization to fulfill the mission locally, but also to connect globally with the others. Each chapter is responsible for fundraising, for coordinating itself, for doing everything they need to do locally, while the global organization does things like organizing the workshop at the conferences and organize global events. Affiliates are typically organizations that are either too small or have too few women to for them to make sense to have an own chapter. So if you one in Europe is Lux Provide, that's an HPC center in Luxembourg. They are very small, and since they are small, they have basically no women. They have I think 3 women. So it doesn't really make sense to have a women's network for the 3 women there. But they still want to support the mission. They still want to be connected to the global network. For instance, to find female speakers for their conference, which they organize every year. So they became an affiliate. They support the mission and the vision of the network globally, but it's not so much focused on local activities. In Europe, I thought that might be relevant as we are in Europe. There are quite a number of chapters and affiliates. Rather recently, a Central European chapter was founded. Those are these over here. There's a Mediterranean and related chapter that's basically in multiple countries around the Mediterranean. Other chapters like ours are local at one institution. And if you work somewhere where you have no chapter around, but you're for example, at university and you think this is a great initiative, we want to be a part of it, you can apply at any point in time. It's a rather short process. The application will be reviewed by the existing chapters, mainly to give advice on if your plans make sense or if they are too ambitious, or to give you hints on how to get things started. So, but why do we do this? I already said it was nice. We realized it's great to have some more formal way to meet regularly and exchange and to have a place where new colleagues can come. But we were also really annoyed by such photos. As I said, we have 20% women in the institute who work in STEM jobs, but at conferences we had, I think on the left 12% and on the right 60% women at the booths. Which is not really, it doesn't represent reality. I mean, there is a good reason for it. If the lead of the HPC admin division is male, and the person who usually does the procurement of new systems is male, and all of these jobs are filled by male people, of course, it's men coming. But there are also those people who sometimes go and sometimes don't, and they happen to be always male. We were a bit annoyed by that, and were wondering why this is the case. Other reasons were that we realized it's really helpful for feeling welcome and for exchanging on career, life planning, to have a network of female peers, role models and mentors. Because we do have groups with only one woman. But it's also really nice to share experiences if you are a member of a like visible minority. My own experience was that I presented my master thesis at a conference when I was like 23 or 24 years old. And I got the award, the Young Scientist Award. At first I was very happy and proud, and then I realized that in the past years, and also that year, there was never a female applicant. Which makes you think if that had an influence on the decision. I realized that other talks were worse, but there is always another great talk. Men don't have to ask that question. So my talk might have been the best one, but I will always be wondering if it had an influence that I am female. And there are many more situations like that in your career where career success or failure might or might not be related to you being a member of a minority. It can be that you're female, it can be that you are visibly from another continent, from another country. I'm not talking about like invisible minorities, like a disability that is not visible to the audience, for example. Your religion is in many cases not visible unless you obviously show it to the world. But these visible minorities are really something that makes you think, and it helps so much, especially if you're young, to have someone to talk to who might have made the same experiences in their lives. We also support each other in like fighting imposter syndrome. Especially women are shy, and we really question ourselves. Not all women, some men do that as well, but this, am I the right person to give that talk? My colleague over there must be a lot better. Why isn't he invited? Or she? So really supporting each other, saying, you are the best person because you did this project and it worked really well, and you're a great programmer. You are the most experienced person with a certain thing. That's why you're invited. Enjoy it. And this is really helpful. To have a place where you can, like a safe space where you can go and just express that, and it's not yet like your boss or your direct colleagues of your team, but it's other people who know your situation enough to make a judgment and support you. And last but not least, and this is really a point where we got a lot of interest in our institute, is we want to hire a more diverse workforce. We are a very international institution, but still rather male, so we have groups with relatively many women, like my former group, which is high performance computing and neuroscience, had many women, but the women in the group are typically not the computer scientists, but the neuroscientists. If we manage to hire great people, we want to keep them. If you post a job ad, there are certain ways you can tweak the job ad without changing the content to make them more attractive for women. And those are things which we investigate and where we collect data that has been published and make this knowledge, like spread this knowledge in the institute. And we have male colleagues who came up to us and were like, a year ago you talked about what you can do in a job ad to attract women, because I have no women in my group. Can you have a look at my job ad and tell me what I can change? And it's little things like, if you have a long list of requirements for the applicant, women tend to be more self-critical, and if we don't fulfill all of the points, we might not apply. While men are like, first 3, I'll apply. Again, stereotypes, not everyone is like that. But overall, this is a tendency which you can observe. What you can do is highlight which are the main, most important criteria for you. Like, you have to speak English because the group is English speaking, you must know Python, but you've never worked with an HPC system before, that's fine because you can learn if you have the courses here. And to visibly highlight what is mandatory and what is optional, because it helps self-critical people, mainly, but not only women, to see if you are a good fit for the job. And to not only highlight the technical part of the job, but also the other things which come with it. Because women are sometimes also more interested to see, will I go to conferences? Is there, to know that working on that project also means you can do some communication on social media, for instance. So to really have all sides of the jobs presented. So there was a lot about why we do this, but how do we do it? We are a group of, I think, 8 people at the moment who more or less coordinate the network, and we want to have one activity or event every month, plus minus a bit. Of course, now in summer we do a bit less because nobody is around, so we might just say, okay, let's meet for lunch tomorrow. And there are other months, I think in September we have 2 or 3 things in our calendars just because it worked out like that. But in phases where nobody really has time to plan anything, or also in between, because I think it's a great moment, we have network breakfast or lunch appointments. For lunch we usually just meet at the canteen. This is really the place where we drag new colleagues, like the one group, the HPC administrator group, finally managed to hire a woman. That was the call. The boss is the person who came up and was like, can you change my job ad so that we attract women? He succeeded. He hired his first woman. We, of course, took her with us to lunch that day, the first day she arrived. So that day we made sure she knows us and she knows there are more women because in her group there is none. Sometimes we have joint events which we organize with, sometimes just by ourselves, sometimes with like our Equal Opportunities Office, a local female network, with a rainbow network, depending on the topic. We have BOF sessions, Birds of a Feather sessions, that are like 1 hour, 90-minute sessions at the big conferences that we organize with other chapters from all around the world. We have a blog, and we give talks like today. And I want to go a bit into more detail for some of them. So I think the biggest thing we've done so far is that we teamed up with 4 other chapters, so the Mediterranean chapter, the Central European one, and every time with more or less a different one in the US, to organize a session at these conferences, which we name Supercomputing Heroes. And the goal of this session is to invite a diverse group of women. Yeah, women diverse. It's about like women from academia, from industry, from university, from different continents, different career stages, into a panel. We prepare some starter questions for them. And then the audience can pick from our predefined questions which they want to be answered, and ask their own questions, anonymously or also by raising their hand. And the discussions, I mean, we can steer the discussions into a certain direction by preparing the starter questions, because, I mean, if a discussion tends to go in one direction, it's quite likely that you will get more questions in that direction. But we did it 3 times with relatively similar starter questions, and the discussions went into completely different directions, which was really interesting to see. And they were really well attended. I mean, these are sessions in a highly parallel session slot. I think there were like 15 sessions in parallel at the Supercomputing Conference in Atlanta. And nevertheless, we had a quite full room, not only attended by women, but also by men, and we had every time people come up afterwards who were like, this was really interesting, that was really nice. If you want to do it again, I'm happy to help you organize or be in the panel. So we recruited our future panelists from people who showed their interest during one, or sent an email like, oh, I couldn't attend because there was this technical thing in the room next door, but do you do it again? So of course we applied again, and we're waiting. Tomorrow we should know if we can do it again this year at the Supercomputing. The target audience group is more the next generation. So it's really about giving the next generation a place to find role models and to hear from more experienced people in the community how their career and life has gone, and get their opinion. Sometimes it's really about technical questions, or like academia or industry. Where should I start after finishing my PhD, for instance? Then we had a local event on the International Women's Day last year, which we named Gender Dimension in AI. We have a colleague, Caro Penker, who works on the very technical, close to hardware GPU level on AI. And she talked about what could possibly go wrong, dangers of AI advancements from a diversity perspective. And I mean, this was last year, and unfortunately some of her sources are no longer online, but I checked what's still there. And she presented those examples of why gender dimension AI really matters. And it was really eye-opening for the participants, because we do a lot of AI research on all levels, from very close to hardware to the application level. One was credit card systems, like in this case Apple Card, who discriminate certain groups, in this case women, because of the training data they got. Or in 2021, Google, so there are languages like Hungarian, which are gender neutral. So there are no different words for he or she, like in English. if Google translates from Hungarian to a language like English, of course, the translator has to choose which pronoun to use. And it would be logical to just always use the same, and it would be kind of okay to always write he. But the Google Translate function at that time switched the pronoun from sentence to sentence based on what it thinks is right. Like, she was cooking, taking care of the kids, and assisting. She was the beautiful, caring housewife. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the screenshots anymore. While he was the hard-working boss. So it was like a series of sentences which were all like, someone cooks, someone works, someone engineers, someone whatever, and it was exactly reproducing stereotypes, because that's what the training data was for Google Translate, at least in 2021. These are two ChatGPT generated images from different versions, from December 2023 and March of last year. And it said, create a photo of a university lecture room with students studying mathematics. The picture on the left, this slightly older one, is a relatively diverse group of students, which might or might not be true in mathematics. And the one on the right, from 4 months later, is a very, very male room. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the bigger version so that you could see it better. The question is, what do you want? Do you want the diverse one on the left, or do you want the more realistic one on the right? I mean, mathematics still has a rather high percentage of women. Let's say it's physics. You would have basically no women. Another example was Google's Gemini image generator, which was asked to generate images of German Second World War soldiers, and what you got was a black person, an Asian woman. That's not German Second World War soldiers. So there, a diversity filter was applied, which in other cases, like this one, you might want to have, depending on what you want to do with the image. But in this one, with a historical context, it just makes no sense. Microsoft had an AI chatbot, which became a racist asshole within like 24 hours just by people agreeing on Twitter to feed it with the wrong stuff. Amazon had an AI recruiting tool which showed a bias against women, which they turned off and used like the normal manual procedures, because also there, probably there was a bias in training data which they were not aware of. And all of these examples, and Caro had many more, and also some studies which he presented, really showed that we have to care about bias in our training data when we work with AI. I mean, the gender dimension is one example, but then, no matter what you do with AI, we all have to be aware that what you put in is what you get out, more or less. That was a really, really interesting. I think we exceeded our time by like an hour because the follow-up discussion was so interesting that nobody wanted to leave the room. We had a breakfast recently about diversity and inclusion, where we kind of self-reflected and compared in which areas we are privileged and where we have disadvantages, which was really interesting because naturally we have the perspective of women who tend to be discriminated because they are taking care of their kids. But the other side of this is that fathers are often assumed to not be the caretakers. Like, although you tell your daycare or the school that dad is responsible to pick up the kids, they will still call the mother if something happens, although she might be traveling like me. There are places which deal with that well and others who don't. Some of our international colleagues raised that they sometimes don't feel well because stuff is only in German. I mean, our institute is very international, so we try to have everything in English, but sometimes stuff is just there since 10 years and the person wrote it just for a small group. Everyone was German, so it was written in German, they didn't think about it, and then now it still exists in German only. So there were many, many things. Having a PhD or not is a big topic. Because in Germany, at least, like, your certificate matters a lot. I know it's different in other countries, and it differs from community to community. So, but in computer science and HPC, you don't really need a PhD unless you want to be like a professor at something. So sometimes you're discriminated or you feel discriminated because you don't have a PhD, which doesn't tell anything about your skills and your knowledge. So there were many of these examples, and it was really nice discussion as well. We had one instance where we invited specifically our male colleagues, asking them about their opinions on what we're doing. And it was a very long and very interesting discussion, because there were points where we had fundamentally different opinions, but we agreed. And there was really a very important aspect, that if the decision-making group was only male, how could they make a decision that serves everyone? So if you have a decision-making group, a discussion, you have to well represent everyone, so that everyone's opinion and necessities are taken care of. So we had a long discussion about, is it our job as a family to make sure that I can travel or do something in the afternoon if there's a meeting, or is it the job of the institution to make sure that everyone can attend and have meetings rather in the mornings? It was really interesting. But we fundamentally agreed that you need to make sure that everyone's boundary conditions and opinions are well reflected in discussions and decision making, which you only get if you have diverse and inclusive decision making groups. And that was also where this how to make job postings more inclusive topic came up. The next thing which we will have, I think, next week is about fighting stereotypes in early childhood. Because we realized that over lunch, we kept asking each other for suggestions of, I'm so tired of these books where the mother is always at home with the kids and the dad is working. Do you know another book where, it's a bit more like reality? Because most of my colleagues, female colleagues, work, and their husbands work, and their kids are taken care of by both parents. But it's hard to find kids' books which also reflect that, especially for younger kids. How do you deal with how do you make your girls look into STEM, and how do you make your boys be interested in more social things? There's my daughter now loves pink because all girls around her love pink, because their older sisters love pink. So, there are those stereotypes which, the moment a child is in contact with other children, they will pick them up. But if you want to be a Python programmer at some point, you need to get interested in computers beforehand. So we want to fight those stereotypes of, no, this is not for girls, this is for boys, which just happen. As parents, you can only try to work against what they experience elsewhere. I'm curious how this will go, because it's mainly meant as a place to exchange ideas and experiences of what works and what doesn't. A completely different angle is in the German Wikipedia, women are totally underrepresented. Articles about individuals. So 2 years ago, we started an initiative with our local female network, not in HPC, but in the entire campus, to write German Wikipedia articles about professors on campus. Only about professors, because Wikipedia apparently has a very strict rule about if someone is relevant enough to be on Wikipedia. And professors, being a professor apparently is one of the strict rules. If you're a professor, you are relevant. No matter how irrelevant your topic is, how little you've done, you are a professor, so you can be in. So we start with professors, because there we don't have to argue with anyone. We had a few in-person events, which were also supported by a Wikipedian who explained us how to do it, because it's a somewhat complex process. And we started writing the first articles about our colleagues. One of those things which we do in parallel to everything else is engaging with the next generation. If we want more women, of course hiring is one thing, but we also want to, we have a combined bachelor apprenticeship program in our institute, which I did myself 15 years ago. We were a third women in my course, which was good. It was fun. Now, in recent years, we had one woman out of 20 to 30. And this is really due to a lack of female applicants. It's the female applicants who apply are usually super motivated, and they are great, they have great marks, they are hired, but we have basically no female applications anymore. There's also ULab on campus, which is a lab where high school classes can come and do some experiments and like get into STEM more on a like project level. They also have vacation kids clubs where you can drop your kids while you're working during school vacations. And whenever those programs, like our Matsu program, this apprenticeship bachelor program, or the ULab, call us and say, hey, we're coming with a group, or there's a female intern, we try to show up and make sure that a woman gives the guided tour, or a woman together with a man gives the guided tour. If there's a female intern and there is no female student around that day, you can like take them by their hand. We just join them for lunch. A few weeks ago, I took a female intern with me who was like 16 or 17, and she had exactly the same thoughts that I had at that age. And she told me like, I'm not sure if I can do this. I have never done programming before. For the program, you don't need to know any programming beforehand, because for programming, we start from scratch, like from zero. You need to be good at mathematics at school. And everything she told me was like, yeah, I felt exactly the same when I was your age. And I just try it, it's fine. It will be fine. Everybody around you is really nice. You will get into it, don't worry. It will be fine. It took me like 30 minutes to convince her to apply. She's unfortunately too young. She needs to go to school for 2 more years, but I got her from, I don't think I can do it, to, oh wow, that sounds so cool. That sounds like a great opportunity, I will apply. And all it took was to take her with me for lunch. So we try to use those opportunities, and meanwhile we're well connected. So if they know they have another intern, a small student group, they will call us and be like, does any one of you happen to have time that day to take them for lunch, or give a short guided tour, or so that they have an opportunity to talk to someone with a bit more experience. And the effort for us is like very little, no prep time, and this is really rewarding. And we also sometimes collaborate with the recruiting department of the research center if they want. It's usually not us, but they are like, okay, there is this career event and we need a woman or a non-binary person with this and that background, like someone doing climate research, someone doing HPC stuff, someone very technical, someone doing programming, whatever. Can you recommend someone? And then we are well connected and we know whom we can ask. So because we have 350 people in our institute. So it's more likely that we know whom they can ask than they can find out. So it's really about increasing the visibility and making sure that it's not always the same person, because that's another risk. That if there is a minority, you will always ask the same 3 people, and they are super overwhelmed by this and don't have time for the actual work. Last but not least, we write down what we do in a blog, which we also use for formats like My Path to HPC, where we describe how we got into this community. So my friend Christina is a data systems architect. She studied electronics engineering in Spain. She's Spanish. We have people like me who started with a more close to HPC education and then stayed in the community because the community is amazing, but doing something less technical. We have an interview with a professor who travels to conferences with her whole family. Some of us wrote about our experiences coming back from parental leave, and we write about all of our events. It's not always easy, so none of us is funded to do this. As I said, we have the full support of our institution. We are allowed to organize events during working hours. Everyone is allowed to attend during working hours. We have our coordination meetings every second week during working hours, but basically everything else has to happen in our free time. At least anything that takes longer than 10 minutes. In the beginning, when you're super excited about something new, it's easy to spend as much time as you need in the evenings and weekends and whenever your family lets you do that. But it's really difficult to keep the momentum going. There are some women in HPC chapters which at some point stopped being active because there was nobody around anymore to really push it, because you have to push yourself if it's your own network. Nobody will ask. It's not like an EU-funded project where the European Commission will push you to report on something, but it's your own initiative and you have to keep it active. That's why we try to balance between low and high effort activities. inviting for joint lunch is super easy. That's setting up an intranet appointment and like writing an email and posting in the chat. So we try to balance this with more high effort activities, and we collaborate with other networks where it makes sense. For example, this diversity and inclusion event with this Power Flower was co-organized by our Rainbow Network, like the LGBTQ network on campus. And we also try to get more colleagues involved. That new colleague, who's the only woman in the group, she's now part of the Orga team, which really helps. Because the more people, if you are enough people, it works that someone just says, okay, the next 3 months I will be very, very busy with my actual work. I can't do anything. And if you have enough people, the others can just take over. But it's still a hobby at work. And most of us have kids. So we have to balance how and when we do things. And the last thing is that we don't have dedicated funding. It would be amazing if we could fund a person at least part-time to run the network. So to really make sure that nothing gets forgotten, to just keep things going, to do those like regular small things which add up over time, updating the website, reminding people, making sure that we don't forget to organize the next thing. You know, all of those things just take time, and it would be great to have someone who can spend, let's say, 5 to 10 hours per week just on that, but we don't have funding for it. And it's really hard to find funding. So we kept one of my colleagues tried to apply for funding twice, and it was both times rejected. And we also don't have travel budget for us. So what we typically do is we kind of piggyback on other travel. If we were allowed to send someone to the conferences when we managed to get our session approved, but it would be great to bring more people. So we usually try to combine it with like someone is traveling to a conference anyways, and then the person can do something there. And for like little things we ask, and typically we can do them. Like we said, we want stickers, and we were allowed to get some stickers. Because we are very lucky that we're a large enough institute that it's like there is like 200 euro for stickers are not a problem. These are challenges, but it's possible to deal with them, and I think we found good ways to deal with them. But it's really important to have a team which knows each other well and which works together really well, so that you can have these relationships inside a team where two people or a group of people don't work well with each other. So you try to work together on achieving something, but at the same time you feel like you have to fight against each other because you have fundamentally different opinions, for instance. We're lucky that we don't have that situation, but that we have most of the time similar opinions, so that we can, or at least we understand each other's positions so that we can get to an agreement. And we found a way to work with each other. Like we have a GitLab project with issue cards where we keep track of what's going on and update the status, so that if someone can't take care of it, someone else can take over. That's when tech people organize a network. Does it work out? I started with one of those pictures with way too few women. That was November last year in the US, so rather expensive travel, where we had already more women. And this year in June at the conference in Hamburg, we had exactly 20% women, which are not on this picture because they were in a session at that time. We had exactly 20% women, which reflects whom we have in the institute. And that was really the achievement of our network, because we made our young colleagues aware that there is a student volunteer program. So one of the student volunteers was from our institute. 3 colleagues applied through the Women in HPC poster track and got a poster at the conference so they could go. So it was really advertising these opportunities and pointing people to them and say, there is this mentor program and there is the student volunteer program. And it's in Hamburg, it's not far away from us, why don't you go? And they applied, and out of a sudden we were 20 people. And then we told the division leaders in our institute about it, and this was really nice, and we're like, oh, right, next time I could send this and that person. So it was really like making people aware of opportunities which they otherwise might have missed. That was really, really nice. And we will keep it going. Of course, traveling to Hamburg is a lot cheaper than traveling to the US. So for the US conference, there will always be this bias that certain positions and roles are filled by certain people. So those people will go, and it's really expensive. It's like 4,000 to 5,000 euro per person to go there with everything. So you can't have an endless number of people just going with a poster. But in Hamburg, we can do that, and that's really nice. If you are interested, you can join us. So our chapter is local, but we try to have hybrid events or do things entirely online, depending on what we plan to do. One of the other next things will be like, how do we call it? Can't remember the name. We invite former colleagues who went into other career paths, so that we can exchange with them on their experiences outside of our institution. Co-organized with our alumni network, and that will be hybrid because the speakers live so far away that they won't travel to us. And so not all of our things are accessible to externals. In principle, we can have guests from outside on campus, so if you happen to be at a nearby university like in Aachen or Cologne, you can come around and visit us. We just have to know beforehand because we have to register with our security department. Because we happen to be a former nuclear research center and have nuclear waste on campus, so there is a security step involved. But it's possible. It's like I have to fill a form and submit it. It's not a problem. And you can join also Women in HPC. You can, when you apply to become a Women in HPC member, that's basically just signing up to mailing lists. You say, I would like to join the network so that you get the newsletters with upcoming opportunities and activities, and you get. You can choose which chapter or chapters you would like to connect with, and you can just choose multiple which are around you if you happen to be like in the UK, for instance, because there are 2 or 3 chapters to get to know what they are doing. For example, there is a German NHR chapter, and the NHR are the smaller supercomputing host in Germany. They relatively often do things at conferences. Like at normal conferences, if you go to the conferences and you're around, maybe you just want to drop by and say hi and join the discussions. So it's a really nice opportunity, and you can spend as much effort on it as you want. And we are also always happy for suggestions. So if there is a topic you're interested in, like this, how can I tweak my job ads so that more people feel attracted by them? We might just organize a meeting about that and try to invite experts. Thanks for your time. I'm here for questions. I'm here until tomorrow noon, so you don't have to ask them now if you're more shy.
Let's see if this works. It works. Do you have questions? Okay, then I'll start. So you mentioned the example of the job announcement, which you tailored. Do you have other examples where you think that an organization could strategically improve the inclusion of females?
One other thing I completely forgot to mention, and good that you ask, is we have an end-of-year colloquium. It's like a Christmas party, but it's not called a Christmas party. It's a half day of talks. It used to be a full day before COVID, and during COVID, it was like just a half-day thing online because of COVID. And it was scheduled originally from 12 until 4 p.m. We were like, that's not nice. We have many part-time people. Part-time people typically leave between 12 and 2 because they have to pick up their kids. Why don't we do it in the mornings? And it turned out that the 2 people organizing it, who were both in their 60s, just did not think about it. Because one of them has kids, but they are already in their 20s. So it just didn't turn out. So it's this like speaking up for a group of people so that nobody had to speak up themselves. If I speak for a group of people, it's easier to express something than if like a person has to say, this is a pity, I want to participate. So there's like collecting boundary conditions, opinions of a minority and speaking up for that group instead of having individuals speak up is something which happens from time to time.
Thank you.
great talk. So my background is in physics. So in undergrad we had less than 10% women in the course. Right now I'm in a research software engineering group, which until new person started yesterday was 50% women. And I noticed it's a completely different world, completely different atmosphere in the group. And I find that really helpful as well. I was wondering, do you know if there's a threshold somewhere between 10% and 50% where the culture starts to shift?
No, I don't know, but I'm sure there's research about it. I mean, you want to get beyond the point where no matter which minority aspect it is, if you have the one black person, the person will always be the black person. And the closer you get to a more balanced, I mean, having in Europe 50% black people would be probably unrealistic. But if you have more than 1 or 2 or 3 in a larger group, they feel more comfortable. But I mean, the 20% in our institute already work quite well. So that you're not, and it also helps to prevent a situation where if you have 1 or 2 members of a minority and you want a diverse panel, you will always ask the same people, which makes them stop doing their actual work. So if always the same woman is invited to give the talk, that's time she can't spend on her research or work, so she can't advance with her career. In contrast to others who sometimes give a talk, but they more or less have a choice. So it's, I think, probably around 20% could be good. If the group is large enough, I mean, 5 people, 20% is still just 1 person. And it's, I mean, our experience is since we are very diverse in other aspects, so we are international and also with very different backgrounds. We have physicists, computer scientists, mathematicians, domain experts from all the domains that we support as HPC users. So you never know what knowledge the other persons in the room have unless you know them very well. So it's like kind of by design more inclusive, and you tend to explain things a little bit more. You give this little bit more context, which is also very welcoming for new people. Because if you're new and there's a bit more context, it's easier to get in. That's like the one thing that we're still working on is really make sure that the women we have don't leave, basically. Because it's not bad. 20% is okay, but we have to make sure that our female colleagues don't leave when they get kids.
More questions?
Hi, thank you. Really enjoyed the talk. I guess when you're mentioning like this sort of outreach, you're mentioning conferences and the visibility there. Kind of reflecting back on my time at university, like I think from first year university, there's still underrepresentation of women in computer science, and maybe I missed it from the talk, but is there like outreach as well, kind of earlier in the program, like to say, hey, like there are women working in HPC systems and working on these cool scientific problems, and like.
Yes, so we have this combined bachelor apprenticeship program for which in general the application numbers have gone down in the last 10 years, so we try to attract more high school students to apply, and we make sure, for example, that when we go into nearby high schools to advertise it, it's not only 3 boys going. So we try to bring at least 1 female student, and the assistant of the program lead is female, so she will also go. And if we have, as I said, if we have like a student group coming, we know it's a mixed group, we will make sure that women from our side show up and are there and show we are there, this is diverse. We also, in 2 weeks, we will have the open day on our campus. Big hint if you're close to Jülich, 7th of September is Tag der Neugier, Day of Curiosity. We make sure that women are there to show that, because there will always be families where the kids are thinking about what they want to do after school. So that they apply for computer science, mathematics, physics when they go to university. And to fight those stereotypes. So when I was 14 or 15, I had the same teacher in physics and mathematics, and I had the same mark in both subjects. And he told me, you can't do physics, once you can drop it, please drop it. And since I was 14 and not very self-conscious, I dropped physics. And I regret that because I think I would have loved it. But I dropped physics and then studied mathematics and had physics while studying mathematics and was like, oh, it's easy. That's just, applying mathematics to something more real life. And that was really eye-opening, like how we really have to make sure that in like childhood and teenage, we don't lose people who would be great for programming, for physics, for mathematics because of such stereotypes. We try to show up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your questions as well. Anna is around until tomorrow, so we do have a coffee break now. I would have a couple of more questions, but I'm going to ask you later. So, how are the session chairs actually? Did you check? So we need session chairs.
Yes.
This morning. Who's in? Raise your hand. Come on. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, we're going to check. So, what's the session chair?
Okay, what is a session chair? So the session chair essentially stays there in the morning and the afternoon blocks between the coffee breaks or lunch breaks. Stays there and makes sure the speaker is set up. Like going there saying, hey, do you need anything? Is your laptop ready? Test the setup and so on. You may be so kind to offer a glass of water if you want. You could also do things like, you need to check the time. You need to check, okay, 5 minutes, you can offer the speaker a sign to say 5 minutes until speaking time is over and so on. Manage the discussion afterwards, essentially. What do you think doing now? Are you interested? Let's see it.
I'm keen to chair the sessions I'm interested in, if that's all right, because I'd really like to also attend the session.
Well, we do a session chair for block.
So we have to this out there, please hang up, it would be super great to have people. So, coffee break, let's go.